We love to experiment with new makeup trends, but this month we're taking a classic approach to beauty and going back to the basics. From the right way to apply blush to the best way to pull off a smoky eye, each week in May we've got you covered with a new beauty basic topic. And we are kicking it all off today with a crash course in concealer.
That's right.
Beauty Snoop Megan Moore says it seems like a no-brainer, but many of us are doing it wrong.
Yeah, definitely. There's so many different varieties of concealer, and if you're not using the right one, you may not be getting the results that you're looking for.
I was at the makeup counter just yesterday looking at concealers, and I thought, oh my goodness, there are so many kinds. I don't even know where to start.
Yes, absolutely.
So let's jump into the different kinds of concealer. The first one would be the skin tone match.
Exactly. So there's really two kind of categories, a skin tone match and a color correction. So skin tone match is going to be something that really mimics the color of your skin. You want to get it as close to your skin tone as possible, or a little bit lighter but never darker. So that's one of the key things to remember there. And I like to always recommend using a creamier formula for under eye concealing and something that's a little bit more firm for when you're covering up spots, acne, or blemishes. So kind of think of it that way. You kind of just decide what you're trying to cover and go for a formula that is going to work best for that area of your face.
Does everybody need concealer?
Mostly, yes, everybody needs concealer. Certainly, there are a few lucky women out there that have perfect skin, but even perfect skin isn't all one color. It has some discoloration in it underneath your eyes, or if you have any scarring, or if you have freckles or anything like that. So most people can use it, and you can either use it to cover or you can use it to enhance. So really, everybody can use it.
Okay, so what are we going to test out today on our beautiful model, Amanda?
So we're going to talk first about the skin tone match. So we're looking for something that's going to be the same skin tone or a little bit lighter. And first on Amanda, I'm going to use my favorite under eye concealer. This is what I use on myself every single day, and it's called Bye Bye Under Eye, and it's by It Cosmetics, and it's a really creamy formula. And the thing that we're going to do when we're using under eye is we want to put it on our fingers, and I always like to use my ring fingers because those are going to be the most gentle on that skin underneath the eye.
Okay.
And rub it together, and this is going to warm it up so that it has the same temperature as your body temperature. And the reason that we do this is because it really helps to kind of push it into the pores of the skin, and it really gets much better coverage if it's warmer like that. So that's one tip to really remember. So we're just gonna dab that underneath her eyes. And the other key with concealer is that we don't want it just to be underneath the eyes. We really wanna take it down a little bit lower onto like the corners of her nose and all the way across the cheekbone. This lightens up the whole area and not just underneath the eye. Isn't that pretty? So it just brightens her up a little bit.
Yeah, it really brightens.
And then you can take a brush and just kind of soften it and blend it a little bit more. But really working with the warm fingers is the best way to apply under eye.
And does this go on before your foundation or after?
After foundation is the way that I prefer, and that's how I usually teach.
Okay.
So, yeah, so you can see the difference between
really
both of her eyes. It really lightens this up, and then just also lightens up the cheeks. So that's a really great way to do the concealer underneath the eyes.
And are you using a different concealer on other areas of the face if you have a spot or a blemish?
Absolutely. So for the under eyes, I went with something that was creamier. And then for something like, so she's got a little bit of brown pigmentation right here, not too much, but I'm going to use something that's a lot more thick. This obviously isn't even going to come out of this pot because it's a lot thicker, and it's really going to stay in place for something like a blemish or a spot. Okay. So I'm going to take a little bit of it again, and yes, just applying with my finger the same way. I like to apply it with one finger and then blend it with a different finger, so you have kind of a clean finger that's going to start blending it out.
And then do you go over this with a brush as well?
Yep, you can pat it in with a brush just to kind of soften it and blend it out just a little bit more. But with something that's a heavy, thick concealer like that, it's going to stay in place really nicely, and it's not going to move throughout the day.
And tell me what this product is.
So this is by Dermablend, and this is their cover cream, and it is like the most high coverage. Oh my gosh, you can cover tattoos with it. It's just amazing. So this is amazing for spots and acne.
Is it expensive?
It is, but a pot like this is gonna last you forever because you just use a little bit at a time. So it's more than $30, but it's definitely something that's gonna last you a long time, so it's worth it.
And is this gonna cover any color of blemish, whether it be a dark spot or red or?
Yeah, so when we're talking about skin tone match, it's gonna cover something that's not too, if it's not too discolored. So this is something more like just a little bit of redness in acne or blemishes. But if you had something that was like a really red spot, then you're probably going to want to go into the corrective color, which we'll talk about next.
Okay, yeah, let's go over to the color correcting concealer, because even I have a little bit of melasma, and so it can be more difficult to find a concealer that will cover without looking too cakey or make makeup-y.
So the color correction is something that is not your skin tone. So you can see in some of these down here, they are definitely not skin tone color. We've got pinks and blues and yellows. And the reason we're using those is because they're neutralizing the colors on your face. So say you have a red spot, well, you would want to use something that's green to neutralize it, because red and green are opposite each other on the color wheel, and they're going to neutralize each other. So we're going to take this one. This is by e.l.f. Cosmetics. This is a super affordable palette. And this one, so Amanda's got one little red spot right here, just on her chin. So I'm going to dip into kind of a green tone, and I'm going to go ahead and put that over the red spot. And at first, when you see that blue on her face or that green, it might freak you out a little bit, but just remember that it's going to blend in. So we're going to put that on with our finger first, and then we're going to take our brush and kind of just blend those edges to soften it. Okay, and again, you're thinking, oh, it's still too blue, but then you're going to put your regular skin tone color over the top of it, and you've now neutralized that red completely.
Okay,
and
so
now,
you're using both. You're using the color correcting and a regular concealer.
These layer together really, really nicely. And then we can just kind of blend that out of the way.
And you're using a dry brush to do this.
Just to blend it in and soften it. And then if we want to just finish it, make sure it doesn't move anywhere, we can just take like a finishing powder, this is by Pixie, and just soften that so to make sure it doesn't move all day long. So now she's totally neutralized that red, and it blends into the skin really, really nicely.
And so can you use the color correcting under your eye as well? What kind of effect does that have?
Yeah, you can. So under eyes, usually the color that's underneath there is either a purple or a blue. So you're gonna wanna use something that's yellow or green to neutralize. So if we take something, these are some under eye ones by NYX Cosmetics, and they're really orange. They have a lot of peach pigment in them, and that's gonna neutralize the blue. So we can take some of that peach pigment, again, warm it up on our fingers, and then just kind of tap in underneath the eyes, and we're gonna look for those kind of blue or purple spots to just neutralize. And it's really gonna change the tone. And again, bring it down lower onto the cheekbone and by the nose, so that it brightens up the whole area.
And then do you cover this one with a regular concealer afterwards, or is it good just as it is?
This one's good pretty much to stay as it is. You could layer it if you wanted to, and again, you can always take your finishing powder and again, just tap underneath to just finish it out, to blend it and to set it for the rest of the day, so that you really have that concealer in place the whole day.
Really great tips. We're gonna be looking flawless.
Yes, absolutely.
If we follow all of your steps. And where can people find out more tips and tricks from you?
You can always find me on my blog, thebeautysnoop.com.
Okay, thanks Megan, and thanks Amanda.